welcome to another episode of SEO Presso. My name is Björn Darke and today I'm speaking with the German search pioneer and VP product at Search Metrics, Malte Landwehr. Hi Malte.
Hi.
Today, one landing page is ranking for different and multiple keyword variations. Do we still need to do keyword research and optimize one landing page for one keyword?
I would still do keyword research, of course, but I would try to bundle keywords that are related, that fulfill the same search intent together, and then I would optimize my page for those, but I would not optimize my page anymore for a single keyword. I would optimize it for a search intent, so for a problem that somebody has and then a way to solve it.
So do I still need to put the keyword in the meta title?
I would put, of course, something in the meta title that makes the user understand what is the page about, but you don't need to put the exact version of every keyword variance into the title. There should be one word that explains what the page is about.
What is entity-based indexing?
Depends on whom you ask. Right now, Google is crawling URLs and extracting content and extracting keywords from this content and that way building an index. And entity-based indexing is the idea that Google understands that, for example, Germany is not just a sequence of letters, it's an entity and it has a capital, which is Berlin, and this capital has a mayor and it has something like the Brandenburg Gate in it. The idea is that Google is no longer using the URLs and text that is available on URLs, but basically indexes based on entities.
So let's take the funny example you had in your recent presentation, a French actor who's often drunk. How does Google know that it's Gérard Depardieu, and how does Google connect the dots between Gérard Depardieu and that he's often drunk?
Well, in the end, because he is often mentioned by users in this context, there's a couple of news stories about him. There are pictures with him with alt text that explain this. There are probably tweets and even emails and everything that is published online that puts him into this context. So Google understand that when you type French actor who's always drunk, you need somebody who is often mentioned in context with French actor and in context with often drunk, and that is mainly Gérard Depardieu.
In my imagination, I can imagine that entity-based indexing helps Google to faster connect the dots for voice search especially, or visual search as well.
I think answering questions, understanding text is possible without entity-based indexing. To be honest, I don't know if Google actually is doing entity-based indexing, right? It's a rumor and there are some pointers towards it, and of course their knowledge graph is based on it. And there are questions like, is the media markt at Alexanderplatz open right now, where it totally makes sense to understand the entity and have attributes of these entities indexed, like the opening hour. But there are also many questions where it's not necessary to understand and extract the entities.
I often had the idea when I was working at Ringier, it's a huge publishing site, right? So you have millions of articles, millions of URLs. And my vision always was to use tag pages in terms of building actually a sub-architecture based on entities. Would you say that this would be a powerful method to build huge websites?
Absolutely. If you look at publishers that gain a lot of traffic from Google consistently, they get a lot of that content from evergreen pages. And especially for a topic where there's a new article every other day, it totally makes sense to have like a tag page for example, Donald Trump, and then have all your articles that reference him to some significant degree listed there. Totally makes sense.
Do faster websites rank higher in Google?
Not always, but when you are in an industry where everybody is a big player, like you have 10 companies, they all are 10 years old. They all have the same content. Like, for example, in the travel space, everybody has the same flights, the same hotels. All of them are super old, have a lot of trust, have all the backlinks they could need, have all the media mentions they could need, have all the brand searches they could ever need. Then, yes, the faster website has the better user experience and the faster website will win. And I've seen super strong correlation of that, especially in the US travel industry, where this is literally the situation that you have, I think, even 15 or 20 players, and all of them are trusted enough. All of them have the content. All of them could be position one. And for some of them, there's a very strong correlation between can they provide a fast-loading landing page and are they ranking well on Google.
What I think is funny is that there's so many case studies out there where big e-commerce sites like Walmart or Staples or Alibaba, they made tests with increasing the page speed and with this increasing the conversion rates as well. There's not many, maybe 1% of all the e-commerce brands who are working with performance scores in order to increase conversion rate. Why do you think that it's still not a common tactic to increase conversion rates?
Because people are stupid. No, I actually see a couple of companies doing it really well and having really great results with it. Funnily, I today read an article to do it completely differently. Somebody broke his online addiction by installing a proxy that made certain websites slower.
There's an example our dear Svetlana found out the other month when she was working for us. The situation was that in desktop search, there were site links displayed by Google, and these site links were taken from jump marks from the site. If we, like, you took a look at the desktop site, and what you saw is there's no jump marks at all. But correct. You looked at the mobile site and you saw that jump marks are installed via a WordPress plugin on the mobile site.
Correct.
So this clearly shows that mobile indexing is real. Yeah, and mobile optimization gets another urgency nowadays. So what would be your 5 tips for mobile optimizations nowadays?
Make it fast, make it work on mobile, make sure there's all the content you need, because it's all the content Google is going to see and index you on, and then make it even faster and make an even better user experience.
Intent is very important, especially on mobile, right? There is this theory of short content versus long content on desktop versus mobile. And if I look now at the traffic distribution of some of our clients' websites, then I see that there's 60, 70, sometimes 80% is mobile-driven traffic. So you found out there are different questions people ask on mobile compared to desktop. On desktop, it's rather, longer content, what should I study, how-to articles, stuff like that. And on mobile, it's more like what's near to me, what's the next, pizzerias open, stuff like that. Would you now say with 70% mobile traffic, I should just write shorter content and better structured with bullet points, stuff like that? Or shall I still optimize for desktop phrases as well?
Depends on what industry you are on. I mean, there are some industries that have even 90% mobile traffic. It's the porn sector. But there are also industries like Deutscher Mittelstand, where a lot of people still perform 80-90% of their searches on desktop. And I think it's important to know which countries you operate in, then which industries, and make your decision based on that. In most interesting markets nowadays, I would fully optimize for mobile.
How long does cocaine stay in your system?
I don't know. I never had to Google that question. But I guess you mean why do I always use it as an example? So some background, maybe it's a question that is mainly asked on mobile phones, like 90% of the time. And I think it's a great example where, based on the fact that the question is mostly searched on mobile, you can deduct that people want a quick answer because, if somebody wakes up in the morning and has to type that in their phone, they don't care about a scientific study, they don't care about a long explanation or 30-minute video, they want a quick answer, boom.
So updating content is actually also, in my experience, a very powerful method to not only maintain a ranking, but also to increase a ranking, especially for pages who've been published like years ago. What did the data say you had to look at?
So there are some topics where basically you have news all the time, you have changes all the time. So for example, graphic cards is an interesting topic for that. And what I've seen is that the pages that have managed to rank in the top 5 of Google for many years, they update their content very, very consistently. Sometimes every month, sometimes multiple times a month. And they do this consistently over 5, 6, 7 years and build these insanely long holistic pages. But the people who do it best, they're also not afraid to throw away a whole paragraph and to always update everything. And also it's sometimes like small sentences that are important to keep it all up to date, to keep it all timely. And of course, every time you do a content review, make it a little bit more crispy, a little bit better, tune a few sentences here and there. And some companies do it insanely well. And I've seen examples of that both in the US, in the UK, and in Germany. To be honest, it's the best SEO advice I can give. And it's been my best SEO advice for the past 5 years. But it still works. It still works insanely good. And still many companies could benefit from building a better process around it. I once talked to a publisher, and in any given month, their 5 best evergreen content pieces get more traffic than their 100 most viral news.
So taking Google's recent development in trying to keep the user on the SERP as much as possible. There's one thing you figured out is that when you search for certain keywords, be it dating, that Google is showing a very, very prominent app pack SERP feature. You can't actually not look at it, so it drives really your attention. Taking this development of Google, this is actually contrary to it, because what Google does is like making the user click on the ad pack and then go on another platform than to stay display on Google. Why is Google doing this?
I think because they know that apps are sometimes the solution. Even with progressive web apps and everything, a app installed on a phone can do some things with user experience that a website can't. And I mean, Google is here again becoming the platform. Google doesn't want you to search for apps on iTunes. Google wants you to search for your apps on Google. That's why they do it. And I think it's a pretty smart thing. And I don't know any recent numbers, but Google search is already driving a significant amount of app installs. And it's totally fine for them to let the people use the web, leave the Google search. I mean, it's like shopping. They don't need to be the destination that fulfills every request, but they need to circumvent all the other platforms. And here they are circumventing the App Store from Apple, one of their biggest competitors.
What about the myth that Google doesn't have a crawl budget but is crawling my site constantly?
There are statements from Google that they don't have a crawl budget per se, but if you look at the cost of crawling the internet, obviously Google is trying to crawl the important pages, and Google will sometimes stop crawling certain pages. And there was this spam attack in Japan recently where somebody registered so many new domains, like I think it was 100 million, that the Google crawler had a backlog of more than 2 years, and they had to manually intervene the crawling of these websites.
Social media is influencing SEO rankings.
Not directly, but if I can prove that my content is great for users, Google will like it. And of course, if I have content go viral and lots of traffic is being sent to my website, that will trigger the Google bot to visit me more often. But Google will never count likes on Facebook or retweets on Twitter.
If I stop using AdWords, my ranks will drop.
Bullshit.
Featured snippets will become the next ad.
I don't think the featured snippets will become an ad. Google is allowing more and more featured stuff within an ad. Even more attributes you can supply to AdWords that they might show and that give you an extra line and an extra line within an AdWords ad.
So the other month you brought me into a topic which is called Edge SEO. In Edge SEO there's this idea behind it that a service worker would do recurring work via executing JavaScript on the server. Be it like fixing an hreflang tag, be it like fixing a no-index tag, be it like fixing a redirect, stuff like that. Would you see that this is kind of the future of SEO?
It's probably not the future of SEO. I think it's a nice tool. It's not the right solution for every company. I mean, in the moment where you give your SEO the freedom to execute code on the edge of your infrastructure, normally like on a content delivery network, there are lots of security and privacy concerns. I think it's right now mainly small companies that are doing it to be flexible and agile. Some larger companies that don't have their IT infrastructure security under control, but in many companies that actually think about GDPR, privacy, who gets access to what amount of data, I would be very concerned actually if anybody in the marketing team can deploy service workers, because they could also do lots of other shady things. And normally you have processes with an IT team to make sure this doesn't happen. But if you circumvent the IT, the marketing team can just do what they want. It's cool for the marketing team, but especially for larger websites, long term, I see lots of problems. I mean, it's the same if you let the SEO inject any code they want via the Google Tag Manager. From an SEO perspective, I love it. I can very quickly do things, but there are also implications, and maybe accidentally I make every website load 1 second slower and cost my company billions in revenue. And SEOs should probably not be the ones making that decision in the end.
What do you think? How is SEO changing in the next 5 to 10 years?
I believe SEO will become a skill and an activity that every online marketer needs to be able to do, like writing an email. It will become more strategic. I actually see that already happening, that SEOs are at the table when you actually research your personas, research how people are searching on the internet. But I think you will have less of these SEO experts that sit somewhere in a basement. You will have it as a normal marketing skill.
Thank you very much, Malte. Thank you for tuning in, and we see us next week on IGTV. SEO Presso. Ciao.
Bye-bye.